G'day guys, we are joined by SneakyBeaky, who's the community manager of Heroic today. And yeah,
There we go.
he's disappeared. He's back.
Hold on.
Oh no, the
Come on,
focus.
focus on me.
It's focusing on
Come back
Jerry.
to me.
It's focusing on your friend too
It,
much. It's actually just
Barry,
focusing
come
on
on.
him.
Step back, buddy. It was fine 3 seconds ago.
It
We,
was, it
we've been
was.
talking for 45 minutes. Is that better? Is that a bit more manageable?
Yeah, yeah. Jerry's
There
taking
we go.
Jerry's taking all the photo again, okay? But you got yourselves.
Because, hello. He's stealing my thunder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So who's Jerry? Like, you gotta introduce Jerry to me, okay? Who is he? He's a mannequin. He's lost his head somewhere. Who is he?
Hey, he's more than a mannequin. So this is Jerry the Jersey.
Yep.
We don't have an emotional support animal in the Heroic office, so he's my emotional support Jersey. He's been there with me through thick and thin. He's been with me through tough times. He's become a real friend. Because I don't know if you've ever seen Heroic before. But we're a stressful team to watch because you never quite know whether they're going to win the games that they should or lose the games that they shouldn't. Or you know, Jerry's been here with me for love, emotional support, and that's how he's gotten me through a lot of the tough days. Okay.
So does it get through the roster changes as well that Jerry is the only one that stays consistent?
Yeah, I mean Jerry and Saw, they're the two guys who survived the recent roster changes. So yeah, no, it's good to see that Jerry and Saw that they're on the other side of things now. I'm very pleased to still have him. But yeah, Rostermania this season has been wacky.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you because we'll go back to the start of your esports journey because like the first time you interacted with me, according to you, was over the I don't know. Okay, it's before COVID. It's like before BC for me at this stage. Okay, I remember bits and bobs, but not too much. But yeah, like you interacted with me during that time. I think it was like 2018, something like that. For the graphics designer and whatnot, I gave you the guy's name. And then you got into casting in particular. Like, I think that was your first entry to esports was into casting.
So yeah, like the first time I saw you were doing a VP qualifier, which was really good fun. I was a huge VP fanboy. It would have been either 2019, I think 2019, because that's like just after their roster collapse and everything, or early 2020. But me personally getting into esports was actually just a real coincidence. So I was watching guys throughout 2019 when I was really into CS. I'd been to the Face It Major, I'd been to ECS. I sort of just fell in love with casting. I was like, this is really, really fun. Maybe I'll give this a go myself sometime. But I was really focusing on my studies. My exams were meant to be in 2020. Like I had aspirations to still go to university and everything at this time. And then COVID hits, everything shuts down, my exams are cancelled, and I'm just like, huh, I have way too much free time now. And so April 12th, I think, or April 20th, 2020 is when I decide for the first time, hey, I'm gonna fire up the stream, see what happens, go a little crazy. And it's just me there chilling, having a bit of fun with my friends in Wingman. I was commentating our Wingman games. Like if I died, I would just be in their ears. And then slowly but surely, one of my friends who was in the scene, Glukali actually, he still has a popular Twitter and Instagram page. He scouted me to do some commentating for British Army esports. So from there, and for the next 6 months, I was commentating just random internal British Army esports games, Counter-Strike, and like some charity events and stuff. And it was just like every Tuesday evening, couple of best of threes, and then yeah, things just sort of slowly started to spiral from there. Met a higher tier caster at a charity event, did some work with him. Slowly built a bit of a reputation for myself, and I think like there was a lot of relog events at the time. Your Snow Sweet Snows, your Land Sweet Land was meant to happen. RIP, Land Sweet Land, you will be missed. And yeah, that's basically where I got my start. Just a lot of luck, a lot of strange timing, and yeah, I think my first ever LAN cast was in some dude's shed in his back garden with M&J, and yeah, things just went a little wacky from there.
Because I gotta say, I'm trying to think of your co-casters. I know you've had M and J as your co-caster. You had White at some point as well because you were casting the Epicenter stuff in particular for the OC and whatnot. I think you even casted for the CIS region as well. Like, how was your casting gigs overall? Like, was it like a slow build up to like get into the higher tier casters, or were you just like literally launched right
Yeah.
in?
No, so like I was very much solo casting for the entirety of that 6 months. And then I did a little bit of like tournament admin work for them, and then realized, these guys, not the British Army, but the third party company I was working with, were not a particularly reputable company. Like there was some red flags, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I love my start in esports, and like the weird payment methods, the low pay,
Yeah.
everything was just like, this is a little off. And then everything came to a head for the Lions League LAN,
Yeah.
where I was like casting, but also helping recruit some other talent for it and things. And then the online stuff ran fine. Like everyone got paid and everything, but the LAN, it was an absolute disaster. There's an Esports News UK article on it. Um, it just that'll explain everything. I won't go into too much
Yeah.
detail now, but yeah, that's when I was like, okay, I'm not casting for this company anymore.
Yeah.
That's when I moved on to different things. That's when I got like bits and pieces of freelance relog stuff. Epicenter came out of nowhere. I think I'd been like casting HLTV level matches for maybe 2 months before that came up. The reason I know now they were going for very much new casters is because they were paying them absolutely nothing for like an RMR level event. I think I was earning $62 a day or something along those lines for an
Ooh.
RMR of two best of threes, and it was
Yeah.
it was rough. And then moving on from that, it was more relog stuff until I built up enough of a repertoire with them that they actually said, "Hey, would you like to become one of the first CCT casters?" And I was doing all this whilst I was still at university, but I realized that university just it really wasn't for me. I deferred after the first term because COVID was just destroying my university experience. And
Yeah.
the second time I went back, I completed the full year doing history. I enjoyed history, but I hated the way in which I needed to apply it. I felt like it really killed the fun for me. I really enjoyed the learning side, but the application side, it was a very long process. And so I said to my parents, can you give me this chance? Can you give me a year to prove that esports is a viable career for me? If it's not, I go straight back to university. I complete my degree. I do my conversion into law, like I've been talking about for the last few years.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing the full year with CCT, like paying for my own place, paying my bills, everything completely independent that whole year. And yeah, by complete chance, I see a job advertisement for a gig in Paris. They said, "Hey, we need Paris-based people who like Counter-Strike but also speak English." I'm like, "Hey, I don't meet many of those criteria, but I'm gonna give it a go anyway." Reached out to them. They said I was the best applicant, and it turns out it was to run a booth at the Paris Major. And then I found out about 3 days before going that that booth was for Heroic, and that's where I met the Heroic guys.
That's exactly the first question I was going to ask was like, how did you meet Heroic? But how that came to be. So what was it like running the Heroic booth? Because, basically, obviously a third party, they're not going to tell you who it's for. When you get there, like, how do you run it?
Yeah.
What did you do down there?
So it was one of those things where the guys were like, "Hey, we were looking for someone local because our budget is literally like, what was it, €1,000 or something, or 1,200 euros." And so I did the maths, bearing in mind I got this job maybe a week and a half before Paris, 2 weeks before Paris.
Yeah.
So I had to apply for an emergency passport
Visa, yeah.
renewal because my passport
Oh,
was about to
no.
run out. So that was that was stressful. That arrived 2 days before I left for Paris, and it arrived to my parents' house as well. So I went from Nottingham, where I was living, down to East London, and then down to Central London, and then off to Paris. Like, it was very tight
Jeez, you guys
scheduling,
gonna
but
say?
I ended up losing money. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, it would have been quite a rat race because Nottingham to at least it wasn't like Manchester, Liverpool to London, so like that would have taken forever. But how close?
Yeah.
Nottingham is at least somewhat close in England.
Yeah, so Nottingham to my parents' house is about 3 hours. It's
Yeah.
like 2 hours to get into Central and then an hour to get back out again to where my parents are. So it's enough of a detour that it meant I had to go down the day early and everything. Hey, it was nice to see the parents and grab a new suitcase. But yeah, I took the Eurostar. Shout out to the Eurostar. It's a very comfortable way of traveling.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, yeah. Anyway, I had a great time. I had a glass of wine on the Eurostar, but I lost money working Paris because they were like, we'll give you the lump sum and everything, but obviously it won't count as a salary because you're going to have to use it to book your own transport, hotel, food, taxis. And like, to get from my hotel to the Accor Arena every day, I had to Uber because like there was no direct route other than like a really long walk. But it was so worth it. I get there and I meet up with Heroic early on the morning of us starting. Like, it's all very tight knit stuff, and they're like, yeah, it's basically just you running the Heroic booth across from Vitality as well. So the area was going to be super crowded. It was some of the hottest days of the year, and that part of the arena was like a greenhouse.
Oh,
I got
no.
sunblock through glass, which is really hard. My face was red, and they had the same 12 non-copyrighted YouTuber songs on repeat above our booth for the entire first 2 days. I had PewDiePie's Bitch Lasagna. I had KSI songs from like back in, and a Minecraft parody song as well. I thought I was gonna go insane. And they also, for the first day, refused to open the fire exit doors because they said, it's a risk or whatever. So we were trapped in a greenhouse for 12 hours on that first day, and it was like, oh my god, this is insane. I came in wearing smart trousers, my little jacket, Heroic jersey underneath. I learned pretty quickly that I was going to have to lose some layers if I wanted to stay standing. But no, the actual booth itself was so much fun. The Heroic fans were really lovely, and we had easily like 400 people coming through the booth every day minimum. And then on the Saturday, it was a huge influx of people. Like, I would not be surprised if, because Vitality were doing a promotion as well, and a lot of the people who finished at their booth would drift over to us just out of curiosity. We had a queue for a little 1v1 booth with some extra 5 prizes of 100 people at one stage. It was crazy stuff. No, I would not be surprised if at least 1,000 people came through at least that area, and for our signing session as well on that Friday and Saturday. It was so hectic. And then there would be like Heroic camera crew coming around. The Heroic staff would be like, yo, we should probably give him a hand. There's a lot of people here. But it was a really fun activation. We did quizzes and 1v1s, and we even had the head of Qatari tourism compete in a 1v1 against one of our staff members, which was just so random, but very funny. And but yeah, like that's what I did for the 4 days.
Jeez, and that was like by yourself, and did you have some back staff to help you out as well, like in the backroom staff, to help out, organize things and whatnot, and you just had to just manage it, and that's pretty much it?
Yeah, so I didn't have to do any of the setup, and I didn't have to do any of the I didn't have to do any admin, if that makes sense. It was quite literally be there, be a friendly face, talk to everyone, and keep people engaged. So I was running from the back of the queue, chatting to people, to the front of the queue, and then I'd have to restart the 1v1 server. And I lost a significant amount of weight in Paris, despite like everything. I think I must have lost about 8 kilos by the end of the week span. And it was exhausting, but so worth it because I'm here now. I'm in
Uh-huh.
Oslo, and everyone at Heroic were very appreciative of what I did.
Uh-huh.
When it got super busy, they would come back and help, and I could text them and stuff, and like they would bring me lunch and everything, which was
Yep.
super nice. And there was one little tiny children's plastic chair behind the big screen we had set up,
Yep.
and I'd sit there just breathing, eating my sandwich, chugging my
Uh-huh.
water bottle, and
Uh-huh.
that was my relaxing like 20-minute break every day, which was very needed.
So what happened after that? So after that event, like, what were you thinking, like, you know, for work and whatnot? Like, you know, were you thinking, hey, let's go approach Heroic, let's see if we can get something done here, or can there be something more to it? Or did they reach out to you and be like, hey, we want you on? You did really good at the major. What happened there?
So I had the numbers of a couple of like senior Heroic staff members, and I was like, hey, like if you need me for any other like booths, event stuff, just hit me up. I think this
Mhm.
went super well. They agreed. They were super enthusiastic. At the time though,
Mhm.
around the Paris Major, that's when they were really struggling for money. Like it's
Mhm.
no secret, Heroic needed a massive influx of investment. Otherwise, they would have had to have closed sometime
Mhm.
between, I guess, what Paris and this was what
Yeah, because they
2023 was the
they
Paris
were going to
Major.
sell the team to Fun Plus Phoenix, and that got that was before COVID, obviously. And then
Yeah,
I
goodness.
could imagine they got stung on COVID as well, like during COVID. And I was thinking, like, geez, like if Rock were trying to sell their team for money and then they go through COVID, yeah, that cash flow is going to be looking pretty dire because they're not even preparing to have a CS team for that long.
No, I mean, apparently there were two instances of financial struggle for Heroic,
Uh-huh.
but the company's been bought a couple of times. So
Uh-huh.
it was a Danish company. I mean, it used to be owned by the Refresh Media Group, which
Yep.
was the owner of Blast, Astralis, and Heroic.
Yep.
That was back in 2018, and then Heroic and Astralis became a separate entity for obvious reasons,
Uh-huh.
integrity being one of the main ones. And with the Heroic split, they were a Danish org, then they were bought by more Danes, then they were bought by more Danes, and then they
Even
were
more.
bought by yeah, then they were bought by a Norwegian YouTuber called
Yep.
Noobwork,
Okay.
and that's when Heroic moved to Oslo, Norway, as their
Yep.
base. That's where we're based now. A lot of people still think we're Danish. We're not.
Uh-huh.
I am in Norway. Hello. Um, and then after him, it got bought out by a Norwegian investment group.
Yep.
And so the Norwegian investment group is, they're like a conglomerate. They own tons and tons of
Yep.
companies, but they own Heroic now. And yeah, we're financially stable. It's great. We're doing well. And I don't know if you've heard, we sold a few players the
Oh,
past 2 years.
no, so
So
I'm not. Sorry, you guys sold players? Nah, never heard of it ever. I was going to make a joke. The ultimate
I
betrayal of Heroic would be being sold to a Swedish investment group. That's what I'm just going to say.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we plan on being sold to. I mean, we're buying Swedish players now. You know, we got LNZ,
Yep.
and well, we have some others as well.
Yep.
Uh, but
Do
just
we say the player of the N 4 letters?
yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to talk about the announcement. Like
Yep.
we signed Nilo with every expectation that he would be playing on our starting lineup, and then just very quickly out of nowhere, some personal
Yeah.
circumstances arose that meant he was not able to play, like just entirely. So
Yep.
he had to sideline himself.
Yep.
I hope he gets. I hope he gets well soon,
Yep.
or I hope he fixes whatever issues he's facing. I
Yep.
don't know personally,
Yep.
um, but because of that, we needed to bring in another player.
Yep.
So I think I heard that Tina was locked in 5 minutes before the roster
Yeah.
lock for
Most
Blast
likely because
Bounty,
he
which
doesn't have a
was
team. Yeah.
yeah, because no, we were talking to him a little like
Yeah.
there's a short list and there's a long list and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
Saw was like, yeah, let's give this youngster a try, and it went very well. He had an amazing opening game against 3D Max, and he
Yeah.
was the catalyst for us winning that game. I think because his entering on Ancient was crazy good. And then, looking at him in the third map as well, which was Anubis off the top of my head. He had a great game,
Yeah.
really, really fun to watch. And so T-Near was a great pickup. He didn't have as strong of a game against Liquid, but still an important piece of the puzzle. And yes, sadly, Heroic are now 0-2 against Visa issues. But we're bringing him in for Kato, and I can't wait to see him perform on that LAN stage as well.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that all of our players don't feel pressure, and so they can play with confidence, these guys are the starting five. That is why these guys are the starting five, because they can just focus on the game now without worrying about being benched, which I think is very fair.
Yeah, because like a lot of things in particular as well, because this is actually going back to coaching and whatnot, because obviously NFL, I think it's like Kevin O'Connell, which is the Minnesota Vikings coach, because I support them. Okay. He does the same thing as well. Like, it's just like, I don't want to talk about, like, I want to talk about players, like, not you're going to be here for 12 months and you're moving on. It's more of a, you're going to be here forever kind of thing. And, whatever happens, sort of stuff, because they can just focus on playing on the game rather than focus on whether or not they're going to have a contract next year, basically.
So, like, it's good when players can, and also we have amazing support staff, and all of our support staff are super lovely. Like Saw, he's an angel. We've got Shedan as well. He's like the assistant coach. We've also got Feed as well. He's our strategic coach, so he does a lot of the analytical work. I got to meet Feed actually for the first time in the HLTV Awards in Belgrade. He is a lovely guy, really nice to talk to. And the funniest thing was, I think this, we went to the after party, and Feed was like, "Oh yeah, no, we've got prac at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so I'm gonna have to leave you now, Sneaky." But no, clearly that 10 a.m. prac paid off, because we beat 3D Max within like 2 days of that happening.
Yeah, I've had to do that before as well. Like when I'm either streaming or casting the next day, I'm like, guys, I can't stay out past midnight, mate. Like I've got to go to bed and prep. But like overall, you got to Heroic. You talked to some people at the higher ups. What was like your first role in Heroic? After running the booth, like what sort of role were you offered?
Well, okay, so after Paris, they were very open about the fact that they probably weren't going to be doing too many more events in the near future. But then just before Cologne 2023, Cologne 2023, that's when they got bought by the Norwegian investment group. And so they had money, and I hadn't heard from Heroic in a while. But I went to the player hotel to have a couple of drinks with some of my caster friends and some people I knew there. And I bump into the head of marketing, Alex, my boss to this day, lovely guy. And I don't actually see him when I'm there in the lobby or whatever. But as I'm leaving, he just misses me, but he catches me. He runs outside actually to say, "Tom, sorry, great to see you." And running in slow motion. It was very emotional, but no, we had a quick hug. It was a nice reunion, and he said, "Hey, keep an eye on your emails, because we might have an opportunity for you. We'd love to have you potentially become a part of Heroic." And I'm like, "Huh, okay, cool, yeah, that sounds great." And everything works, last minute in esports, so it takes a couple of months for that email to come through, but it does get there. And Alex says, "Hey, we'd like you to pre-apply to be the new community manager for Heroic." And I'm like, "Okay, sick. Yeah, I love this kind of thing. I love the outward-facing roles. I love speaking to fans. I love going to the events. Like that's my favorite part of esports. Just the ability to travel, the ability to connect with like random people who have cool stories." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to apply." I sent in my CV. And after about, maybe a month or two, after a month, I get called in for my interview. They're like, "Yeah, this is awesome. We'd love to have you. How's moving to Norway?" And I'm like, "Huh, yeah, okay, sure, cool." And then the roster collapses after Pro League. So I go to that Pro League with the intention of meeting with Alex and some of the Heroic staff, because have never not made it to a playoffs before, especially
Yeah.
a pro league one where you have 3 chances.
Yeah.
And well, what do you know? They destroy Rooster 13-2 or something, or 16-2.
They got a bit lucky, I'm gonna say. They got a bit lucky, you know, a couple of rounds, you know, Rooster a bit, you know, the didn't hit. The Danish players just move so quickly, it's just, you can't see him. But anyway.
I'll say, yeah, Rooster got clucked.
Yeah.
And then, and then Heroic got absolutely bodied. And then they had the crazy game against, is it Cloud9 or someone? Or like, I can't remember who they were playing in the last chance bracket. But
every time I think of every crazy game I remember is just a Fnatic and M80 game where the game just fucking went on forever. That's the only time ever I hear a crazy game.
Was it what? Is 6 overtime, 7 overtime?
Yeah, it just turned to a blur. Yeah.
But it was the game on Overpass. It was, I don't know if it was map 2 or map 3, but it was like, Cadian needed to win this round. It was an overtime. It was a 1 versus 5. He had a Deagle and he kills 4. It is the most ridiculous Deagle clip I've ever seen in my life, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that had he won that round with the Deagle, it would have been potentially highlight of the decade. It was up there with Happy's Deagle clip. Like, it truly was. It was magnificent. And then he spins around, and the last shot isn't a headshot. It's a body shot, and he gets one tapped. It was ridiculous. So, yeah, they get knocked out of Pro League. I go there anyway because, you know, I've booked everything, and I'm chilling there with a couple of friends. Pro League is awesome. I'm devastated they're not having an audience for it in Stockholm this year. But, yeah, the roster collapses a week after Pro League, and I don't find this out until at this point a week before I'm meant to move to Norway.
Oh no!
Because they're like, yeah, you've got the job, you're gonna move, we're gonna sort this all out. I'm like, hey guys, could you like confirm everything? Because I've put down a security deposit on an apartment in the UK, so I kind of need to know if I'm changing country. And Alex gets on a call with me and he's like, yeah, no, everything's going ahead. Everything's great. However, I should probably give you a heads up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Cadian's not on the roster anymore, and neither are Stout or Yabby. And I'm like, oh, that's a development. That's pretty spicy.
I'm gonna say you've gone into a game of like crime scene cleanup, and you're just like, what? And it's like,
yeah, but thankfully the Heroic fans were still super receptive of me, super loyal, and like I find out pretty quickly what's gone on. This topic's been beaten to death now, but
I don't think it's been discussed enough, to be honest. I don't think Stabby. There's not.
My favorite slip up from an Astralis
from Maunders
would have been. No. My favorite slip up would have been when Device called them Stabby and Yawn at the HLTV Confirmed podcast. That was the most boring interview I've ever sat through up until that point. Very, very funny.
But overall, so you got the move to, you know, Heroic, and then that went down, and you're just like, so how do we recover from this? How was that, like, first week after that happened? Were you, like, what was your feelings going into it? Were you, like, shitting bricks, being like, how do I explain Katie in the face of the team going, and then Yabby and Storm going? Like, how do we explain this? How do we go with this?
It was just like, I'm going to be busy, aren't I? And I was very busy. Because a week after I got to Norway, 3 days after arriving in Norway, we had the Blast fall finals where Cadian was back. So that was something. So we still had Cadian. We got to give him his big send off. That was really well run on the Heroic side because we had 5 people around the clock running the booth in the Roll Arena. And we had a queue of hundreds of people to say goodbye to Cadian. We had 2 sessions, one with the whole team and then one with just Cadian, and we had just as many people showing up for both. We had a woman with a lovely story about how Cadian's passion for the game was so inspiring. It helped her through some tough times. She got Cadian to sign her arm, and she got it tattooed on her, which was like crazy. And just hearing all of these people's stories, you know, inspirational leader, great personality, and Like it was really cool being there for all of that, and I think we gave him a really good send off from the Royal Arena there. But just also the fact that we had Dupree at the time as well, that was crazy. Dupree played for Heroic, don't forget, for 3.5 months as well. And he played well. Dupree played very well. He's the reason our nuke was as good as it was.
Dupree's like a really solid player. Like even on Vulcan and stuff like that, it was very consistent. It was really good to see that. Like even though like a lot of the teams get a lot of slack, the only person who was playing well was Dupree, and I still question why they picked up Dupree as well. But like I was like, I can't really be too, because they should like. My example for Falcons, they should have gone for a younger player instead of Dupree, but Dupree still played pretty well.
Oh yeah. No, again, Dupree was not the problem on that lineup. There are so many problems with Falcons. Like, let's not unpack that now. I mean, even Richard Lewis talking about their most recent iteration on his stream was it's funny. But so I'm getting lost, and I think we had, was it Zyphon as well?
Yeah,
Zyphon, Dupree, Shush, Tessus, Cadian for that full finals. That was a super nice send off, and that made my role a bit easier because the fans at least felt like they got to say their goodbye. However, we were a obviously very heavy Danish fan base. And so a lot of our Danish fan base became inactive, especially on Discord, on socials and stuff. And so it took a lot of time to turn people back around. And by the time we jump ahead into the future to hit the Shanghai Major, I think we've done a very good job of bringing people back on side. The underdog run back to 8th in the world with a bunch of sort of middling pieces of the puzzle. We've got Nerds going crazy. Tess is playing some of his best CS. Kixan, the great IGL, and like Dexter really showing up at the major. And Shush just being Shush, you know, anchoring stuff down.
I also do remember you did a bit on Heroic social media as well, because I remember when you guys unveiled Nikodos, I mean, you said you were very busy. You're also the postman as well. You picked up the delivery for Nikodos.
Yeah,
on the social media.
Was, within a few weeks of me being there, we'd already filmed 8 different pieces of content, and it was really cool getting to film content with players for the first time. Like CCT promised us the world, and in the end, we didn't get to do any content for the entire year that I was there. But coming straight to Heroic, meeting Saw, filming his announcement video, and then doing like the Kixan announcement, the Nikodos in the shipping container one was very funny. Like
he still lives in that shipping container. That's what I get told by him. Definitely 100% the truth, not a lie, not something I just made up.
I say Nikodos' microphone was so terrible that it was so bad that we had to make it sound better to make it sound like he was in a box. That's how bad his headset microphone was.
Oh no!
But we appreciate him jumping in for the skit anyway. All the players were very happy with it, and like it was just a super fun time. And then we get Nerds in as well.
That was the biggest steal that you guys have ever done. Like, there's a lot of steals that you guys have done, but that was a big one.
I say we got Nerds for a good value. I will say. A much better value than, and then he's gone to Team Liquid now, and sucks to suck. You know, we beat them first time we tried, and we made a land final over Liquid, Astralis, Falcons, and Nip didn't even make it to the tournament. So I'm a happy bunny there. What can I say?
Oh yeah, you gotta be happy with that. You know, basically being able to build multiple lineups. Like, the only team that beats you in that is an RB, because they've built multiple major winning lineups. But yeah, like overall with Heroic as a community manager, like, what's the main responsibilities for like community managing in general? Like, for a company like Heroic, is it the same? Like, if you go to Vitality or anything like that, or is it a bit different in a way?
Sure. So my responsibilities change month to month. If there's a big event coming up where I will be there on the ground in person, then most of my month is dedicated to the planning of these events, making sure things run smoothly on the ground. I do have a lot of help with that. I'm not solely responsible. I'm very much the host, the guy who greets people when they get to these activations, and I run them on the ground. More recently, we've had a lot of tournaments with partners cooking up. We did like Thunderbig Pass to the Pros. We've got some more tournaments coming up. Some spoilers there. but I'll be running these circuits. I've been running our Face It Club more recently as
Yep.
well. And until we just sort of find our footing a bit, I'm off the in-person events for a little bit and doing more of the streaming, the watch parties, the co-streams.
Yep.
Like
Seen
a
all of
huge
those.
part of my
Oh man,
huge part of my responsibility is that.
some of them were quite hard though. Some of them were like 11 p.m. and midnight. And I'm just like, dude, I have work the next morning. I can't stay up for everything. Okay, but it was fun watching the the watch parties and whatnot. Yeah, like what else? Like, what are the other roles that you've done as well? Like, outside the in person, outside the streaming. Like, what other roles? Do you go into the office and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I'm in the office every day. I work at 9 to 5. Like my hours are random. It's esports.
Yeah.
But like I help with I help commercial when they need me. If they need a pretty face, then somehow I fit that bill. I help marketing as well. Like my official department at Heroic is the marketing department.
Yeah.
I've written some skits. I am here as an actor whenever they need someone to do something silly.
Yeah.
Again, like it's just planning how to expand our reach, our numbers, keep the community happy. I run the Discord. I run our Twitch. I help with just day-to-day issues that community members have. I point people in the right direction. I answer emails. I'm a bit of a secretary at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you run
I quite enjoy.
Do you run the Twitter account? That's the most important part because Heroic's Twitter account drops some absolute bangers of tweets, and I show them to some of my friends as well, like some of the older ones, and I'm like, this is how you run an esports Twitter account because these are good, like they're just hilarious.
Full disclosure, I have not and have never run the Heroic Twitter. I'm really sorry. I know I'm really sorry. I've occasionally run some of our Instagram stories. That's probably and some of our tournament related socials posting. I'm probably behind that, but I'm not the meme guy.
Oh, it's devastating. Just me and my audience behind here. Yep, devastated. They can't believe it.
No, we have two CS and Valorant interchanging social media managers. We have a Brazilian social media manager. We have a Dota social media manager who also helps cover Spanish language.
Yep.
And we have a Fortnite social media manager who does other bits and pieces now as well. We have another Arabic speaking social media manager who was very helpful when we had our PUBG Mobile squad. We don't have them anymore, but she's still here helping out with stuff like Valorant. She's a very passionate Valorant player and watcher herself. She went to Champs last time it was on. Am I forgetting anyone?
How many? I say like, we have... Yep, sorry, continue.
No, like we have a big socials team.
Yep.
But there are two primary guys for CS. And as an extension of them, we have two video editors, one of which is like a junior video editor, and one of them has got his degree and everything. And Sandra, who is now our team manager for Heroic, he also used to be more of a documentary style video editor, but he could do Blender and stuff like that. And right, it's not quite an exclusive, but one of our main video editors, Martin, is on Love Island, Norway, which is why he's not in the office right now. So,
jeez, that's a big thing to get. Oh, yes, I guess so he does all the editing. So if anyone looks bad on Love Island, Norway, they can go after him. Is that what you're saying?
No. Martin is fantastic. He's got such a great turnaround time. And he's one of the hardest workers here in the office. You give him a ridiculous, impossible task and say, "Hi, Martin, could you finish this by the end of the day, please? We have 3 people asking for things." He'll be like, "Yeah, no worries," and he'll get that shit done. He's a machine. And as you mentioned earlier when we were chatting, we got Marcus over from Apex now as well. So good at editing vlogs. He's good at the frag movies. He's just taken a huge weight off of some of the editing workload that we have.
And if you decide to come to Melbourne, he'll come to Melbourne.
Yeah, we'll I don't know. I don't know if it would be a decision because we're 23rd in the Valve rankings right now.
I don't know how that's going to go, but if it comes to it, you guys come into Melbourne, he'll be there.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll force Marcus out of his corner in the editing room. Get him on a flight to Melbourne. Man, I'd love to come to Melbourne as well.
Just get him on a freight. Just put. Do what you did for Nikodos. You got that shipping container. Put him on a freight plane. Just make sure that everything's clamped down so we can still edit, and then have some sort of wireless internet going to a satellite, so he doesn't disconnect. Pretty easy to me, to be honest. No, but
I'm half Irish, and I have so much family in Australia because it seems the Irish pipeline right now is, get your degree, move to Australia, get your degree, move to So I'd have a 2-week little road trip seeing all the family. I've got people in Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide as well. But so I'm sidetracked. I'm
gonna say overall, with Ireland, from what I discover from being in the Irish bar in South America, in North America, in Asia, also in Australia, I think Ireland is just get your degree, just get out of Britain altogether at the moment.
Right. You said Britain.
Oh, the
Ireland
UK.
Is not part of
no, get out of the UK.
No, Ireland is still not part of the UK either.
No. I'm talking about just
a lot of upset.
Getting out of that. What do they call the island? Okay, I know it's they just
Ireland is its own independent country. Northern Ireland, which is also its own country, is part of the UK.
Yeah,
the Republic of Ireland is its own independent nation.
It's
in the EU, unlike the UK.
Yeah,
very important distinction there.
Yeah, I know Southern Ireland's its own nation. It's not part of the UK. I'm trying to think of they just get their stuff and get away from as far as possible from the UK. Okay, they're the UK can't touch us here.
I see. Yes. But the Irish bars have an incredible monopoly over international pub startups,
Yeah.
There is I've been to the mountains of Peru, and there was an Irish bar in the middle of a town square.
Yeah.
And any country in the world that you can think of. I've been to Russia, and there's an Irish bar. They are everywhere.
Yeah, because I went to Ushuaia, which is where we were going to Antarctica when I was 18. And there was an Irish bar in Ushuaia. It's a small, tiny regional town. And there was an Irish bar, and it was absolutely huge. They literally go everywhere. But we're getting sidetracked back. How many teams does Heroic have? You mentioned Valorant. You mentioned the PUBG mobile squad. How much teams does Heroic have? I think at the start there was CS2 team. How much have they expanded since then?
So the biggest lineups we've had throughout history are our Rainbow Six team, our PUBG, not mobile team. They came second at PGS or PGCS or whatever it's called, which was a crazy achievement. We lost to a Chinese team who were playing online. They were one of 2 teams not on LAN at the event, and their high ping made them really difficult to kill. They also made for a very boring trophy ceremony because...
no one was there.
Oh, yeah. No one was there. That was rough. But so we had a pretty successful PUBG team, Rainbow Six team. We had a not very successful Rocket League team. But that's all in the past now. So what we're focusing on the moment is we've got CS2, obviously. We've got Dota 2, which I would say we are back to being the best team in South America again, which is super, super cool. And we also, and they're playing in an hour and 15 minutes against Falcons, if anyone's interested. We also have a female Valorant Game Changers team. They're competing in the European circuit at the moment. I think Game Changers is coming up in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. We have a Fortnite team, which at the moment is just made up of Thomas HD, who is one of Europe's best players. But for the World Cup, we brought in 3 more players to compete in the 4v4 capture the flag type format. So we're in and out of Fortnite teams, but we always have Thomas HD. And we had a PUBG mobile squad for the majority of last year. But for the first time round, we couldn't sign the players that we wanted to, which was a real shame. The second time round, we also couldn't sign all the players that we wanted to. And again, we missed out on the Global Championship twice, which was a real blow. We started day 1 of the final string of qualifiers in the winter season in 3rd place, and we went down to 9th place.
Oh, no.
And we had to make top 10 out of 16 to qualify for the LAN finals due to how some of the other points worked from other invite circuits. And we came almost dead last. It was really tough to watch the days 2 and 3 of the qualification. Because we were there. We were up there, man. And so yeah, I think I don't know if we've necessarily shelved PUBG Mobile entirely, but we are in between rosters at the moment.
Yeah, because it's like overall with community stuff. What do you do on the CS2 side? It's going back to community manager stuff. Like, what do you do? I guess do on the CS2 side. You talked about basic groups and whatnot. Is there like
Sure.
anything else to really get like trivia or anything like that? What other events do you run within the CS2 hub?
I mean, like for CS2, every Tuesday night we run the Discord Face It nights, the Tuesday Face It nights, where we just get 5 people together. We'll queue in our Face It club, and often I will stream it. Last or this Tuesday, sorry, I was not feeling very well, so I had to just do that one off stream. But yeah, so that's like a big part of my responsibilities. Also, just doing watch parties, competitions, tournaments in the Discord, keeping that fan base energized, and again, just being nice to people is part of my job. I know Heroic has the sort of pariah, edgy social media presence, but genuinely, everyone here is super nice. I mean, I haven't talked about it much, but this summer I was very ill. I was in hospital,
Oh,
in and
jeez.
out for about 3 months. And just to put into perspective how amazing Heroic is as an
Yep.
organization, as a group of people, um, they paid my full salary for the entire 3 months. I was in and out of hospital, no deductions for sick pay.
Yep.
My boss came and visited me in hospital, even though he had to dress up in his full little yellow gown and
Yep.
face mask and everything. Still came in, and they made sure that my girlfriend was there both times I went in. They helped fly her out. They helped to like my intern Kevin, love him. He went and picked her up from the airport. He came and brought her to the hospital. So lovely. They were making sure I took as much time as I needed to get back into the swing of things. Um, so the first time I went in, it took about 4 or 5 weeks before I was allowed back to the office. I come back into the office for a single day, film our Dota 2 short film contest piece. I
Yep.
come back into the office the next day. I get pneumonia for a second time. I
Oh
had to go back into
no.
hospital and take another 3 4 weeks off. So I was out for a lot. I missed some important events. I
Yep.
missed TI where I was meant to be on the
Yep.
ground hosting
Oh
things.
no. Yeah. That's like the
It
worst.
was just so sad. My first TI as well. I was so excited. It was in Copenhagen. It wasn't too far to travel, and then yeah, that gets scuppered. And so yeah, but I recover fully, and they're super nice about like making sure I'm okay in the office. I'm comfortable. Offer me my own room if I need it. I'm walking around wearing a crazy thick ventilated mask, but no one makes
Yeah.
any comments. They're just making sure I'm okay. And yeah, it was a really not fun period. I'm effectively alone, no family members out here in Norway with me,
Yep.
but again, they made the effort to check in on me, come visit, and again, bringing my girlfriend out was just
Right.
really nice of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, that's like going like really over and beyond. And I gotta say, I was actually close to getting pneumonia myself because I had a chest infection, and they are not fun. It is not fun at all. It is absolutely brutal. I was like waking up, coughing up crap, and I'm just like, ugh. And
Yeah, sorry, continue.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it's just not good. Like it's just horrible.
No, and the reason why I was out for so long is because I had an abscess in my left lung as well
Oh,
with the pneumonia, and
yeah.
I have some very fun CT scan pictures I can show you. But
Yep.
yeah, this is why esports is a scary industry to make that leap full time into, especially if you're not salaried, right? Because
Yep.
if I was commentating, I would have been out for longer than those 3 4 months because I had an extra month on top of that where I wasn't able to stream properly. I was really struggling with my breathing.
Yep.
I have a permanently reduced lung capacity now as well from the abscess,
Yep.
and so just I was really exerting myself for the first watch parties we were doing, let alone the casting. And when I finally made my return to casting for our Thunderbig tournament, that was tough. I could feel
Yep.
it. It was a lot harder than it used to be. So again, big shout out to Shush who actually played the Thunderpick World Championship LAN finals with pneumonia. He had pneumonia whilst that is tough. There is a reason he wasn't playing his best game there. I fully empathize, and just look after yourselves, everyone. Just be safe. It's tough out there.
Yeah, so with Shush overall, like I always rate him as one of the best anchors in the world because he just plays the shit positions, no complaints, does it perfectly. He did it at Tricked, then Mad Lions, and then wherever he moved to after that. And like I called him like that early as well because that Tricked roster was incredible. And I'm like, Sush is just that anchor player to he just gets like at least 1 or 2 kills. He goes down, but he just buys enough time. And every time your heroic Twitter mentions the B side player, I'm like, at Sush, because that's literally fucking him every round. The A side just goes.
Yeah, no, but you look at Vertigo, especially the start of the new heroic roster, and Shush was our best player. He was taking down, as you said, 2, 3 people on that B bomb site of Vertigo. It's not an easy position to play. That's why a lot of pros don't like Vertigo, because first of all, the elevation is confusing, the timings are a bit scuffed, but that B bomb site is tough.
You're an island, basically.
So the island of Shush did pretty damn well.
So with any like the community manager stuff, do you look at like any other teams and how they run the communities? Like, do you look at Astralis, Vitality, Na'Vi, or G2 and how they do it, or you're just like, we're gonna take a bit and just fill our own niche effectively?
Yeah, so I look at Astralis and I have a giggle, and then I forget about them again because I jest, but I do take inspiration from other organizations.
Do you take a look at Astralis and be like, that's not what we should not do? But then we go, oh, Team Liquid, maybe.
I mean, they've always had a very formal line. I feel like they have a very formal external communications line. And the thing that I massively respect about Astralis is the Danish corner. Like, I don't think that's necessarily Astralis' initiative. I know a couple of the guys who founded it, but the Danish corner, much like the Roaring Bears and the Golden Hornets, they are a really, really cool fan-based organizations. Esports ultras is what they are, with thankfully less of the violence. Shout out to esports, love you guys. And I look at them and I think, how could we do this for heroic? And it's a little bit more difficult because it's a lot easier when you have national-based fan bases. You have the unity of language, the unity of location. And have I lost you there? No. Oh, hello.
No, we're back. We should be back.
We're back?
Yeah, we're on.
Can you hear me okay? Awesome.
Yeah,
okay. It's just the camera feed's a little blurry on my end.
Oh,
but
it can happen from time to time.
Don't worry about it. Again, the Oslo to Australia internet pipeline is not the smoothest.
Yeah.
But like we look at these fan bases, and one thing that I would like to expand on and this year is doing smaller scale in-person fan events type stuff, which is why I'm so gutted that Stockholm doesn't have an audience, especially with our Swedish players now. I would have loved to have just rented out like an esports bar for the evening, have the team come down, say hello, have a couple drinks, meet some fans, and then go watch the event on the Sunday or whatever. I think that would have been super, super cool. But I do still have some plans to attend more local events. I myself, whatever happens, I want to be at that second major of the year, whether it's in a heroic capacity or not. But like we had a not massively publicized fan meetup here in Oslo last year, where we had people from America, Finland, Denmark, Belgium, France, all of them meeting up in the heroic office for a 3-day LAN event. And it was so much fun. I was still recovering at the time, so I didn't get to spend too much time with them. But they got the tour of Oslo. They got to just meet fans that otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to come together. And that's also another reason why you should join the Heroic Discord. Eventually, if you're active, you can get promoted to VIP, and you're the kind of people who will be invited to these sort of events. I want to do more of that stuff, more fan base corners, presence in arenas and stuff. And like I've got a couple of people so there was a group of guys who created the Tech Nine Boys, which was like a sort of external heroic fan base club.
They are my favorite club from now on, okay? The Tech 9 boys, they're my favorite club because of how much I love that weapon.
But there was a group of about 50 of them, like guys, girls, really lovely people. And they still have a Discord, but we've sort of brought them into the main fray now. And I'd love to, if you can think of a better name that's a little more inclusive than the Tech 9 boys, and also slightly less threatening when putting it on a customs form, then yeah, we're open to suggestions.
You just make it a TEK9 and you don't make any reference to the weapon. Okay? Just the heroic Tech 9s, okay? Or the 9 techs, just don't make any reference.
Yeah, there we go. We got the 9 tech corner. I think that's you've solved all of our problems there, Josh.
You can pay me in royalties at any time you want, okay? Just gonna take all that heroic money. Nikodos will finally have a home, okay?
Oh, no. Again, Nikodos, it was fantastic at the start of CS2 because the meta was very, very much on an AWPer who could also rifle really well. But I know that Saw had a chat with him and said, Nikodos, you could be a fantastic rifle entry, but we had Tessus. So like we didn't need two people performing the same role. But some of my favorite clips of Nikodos were him on Ancient running up B ramp and just killing two people.
Pretty much it.
So good. And then when you look at the AWPing, he has some crazy AWP clips, but he was just so much more consistent with that rifle, which is why there was the joke that he's a rifler every time he got like a crazy rifle clip. And then, but like on Nuke, he looked really uncomfortable with the AWP, making very aggressive outside plays, missing the shot, dying early, losing the advantage. And so Nikodos, if you're listening, you're a great player. I'd love you to rifle a bit more.
I could say overall, I'm trying to think of it. Aggressive AWPing on Nuke is just like, the AWP is so hard to use on Nuke in general. And making aggressive is even worse because just like you got too many angles and elevation to even consider as well.
Yeah.
But we got the community manager out the way, what you do and whatnot. I'm going to say, give you an opinion on this. Who do you reckon is the outside heroic? Who runs the, one of the good communities? Like, do you talk to the other community managers? And who do you reckon who runs the best one currently?
I do talk to community managers sometimes. I think one that has the most notoriety is Tom from Endpoint. At one point, we were Tom Cubed, which was very fun. We have a cute picture of us together in Belgrade. But yeah, I truthfully, I don't do enough chatting to other community managers. I've spoken to like other representatives of other organizations. Like I've spoken to a lot of social media managers from Complexity, from I know some of the guys from G2. I know lots of people, but I don't specifically know the community managers. And in fairness, not every organization has one. I've spoken to the people who run the V Hive in Vitality. They're all super, super lovely. I think they're very cool. I love what they're doing there. The V Hive is a great place. Astralis Nexus is also like a fantastic venue. And yeah, like I speak to all sorts of people, not necessarily the community managers, but there are people who I like. So my favorite organization in terms of community inclusivity is Carmine Corps. Now they have the benefit of having the French nationalism, I would say, not even just national fan base,
and also the biggest French streamer as well, and Serrator as their owner.
Yeah, like they have done so much. They have an arena. They've sold out said arena. They have teams in everything, and they're so impressive to look at and to study. We actually had a French intern doing some research on the French teams for us, and it was just like, wow, Carmine Corps above and beyond anything I think we've ever seen in at least Western esports before. I mean, I know in like China and stuff, we have player idolism. Like almost like sort of K-pop style fan bases, but like Carmine Corps is amazing to look at. And then you look at the Golden Hornets as well. Shout out to the Roaring Bears, who have had nothing to cheer for the last 8 years now. 2017 was Big's like last. Well, no, 2018 they made Cologne. That's
2020 they won Leipzig. So they've got some
Yeah,
stuff,
that was
but
the line, you know.
no, Leipzig was LAN event. It was
like,
in Leipzig. It was DreamHack Leipzig.
You're very. My apologies. I'd like to roll back my criticisms.
Yep.
They've not had a tier 1 event to
Exactly.
cheer for since. But they always rock up at Cologne. They have the drums and the scars, and they always have a great time there. Yeah, I love the Roaring Bears, and I love Big as well. Big are a fun organization, and yeah, I take inspiration from like what a lot of the big guys do at the bigger events, and in terms of community activations,
Yeah.
I look at Team Liquid, I get jealous of their budget, but then I'm very I'm very impressed with what they do at the Colognes, at the bigger events, and yeah, I'd love to do more small stuff like that, whilst throwing in the more casual fan meetups like pubs, lunches. When I was working in Berlin at Thunderpick, I just went out to lunch with one of our bigger Heroic fans. Had a lovely chat, lovely time. Got to meet his friends. He brings his son to events as well. All super lovely. Like I really like the Heroic community, and I want to be able to give more back to them.
Like I say, you definitely give a lot to them in particular. So so being active in the obviously the Discord as well. Always just either just trolling, having a bit of fun. And the roster's gone again. Like, where did we lose the roster this time? Like, guys, if you remember to pick them up from the airport.
One of the things I pride myself on most is keeping active, making sure the community stays as up to date as possible. Like, our staff are pretty responsive to people in that Discord. My boss Alex as well hops in, chats with people. Ericsson as well, waffling along, and like we make sure that we try and keep people in the know. We try and keep transparency, which we think is something super important. It's why we released Vanilla statement. We released our side of the Stabby story. Like we want at least some degree of transparency without damaging people's privacy, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
I think people have appreciated that from us so far. And again, like, we are different ownership, different team to some of the past dramas. And like I think Heroic as an organization has come a very long way, especially from their early days, like Journeyman Cadian back in 2019 would have been when he first joined, 2018, 2019. To where we are now with another international lineup, looking like they could, well, they're technically top 20 HLTV, but looking like they could push for that top 15 spot just out of nowhere as well. And also shout out to Sunpius for a godly performance yesterday. Very unlucky that we did not close that map 1.
I think overall, I think Heroic got to watch out for that number 16 team in particular, with that Romanian AWP and that 4 Aussie core. Will they really get that 15 spot against that core? Not terribly sure,
I mean, I think our main goal for the first quarter of the year is break into top 16, start getting those event invites. If we'd have beaten Team Spirit, that would have been crazy. Big upset would have been nice. I think we probably break top 16 there. But at the same time, we were huge underdogs with a stand-in at our first LAN event as a squad in the first event of the year. The first event, sorry, I'm adding caveats here and there, but this was a remarkable achievement. And I think it's safe to say we expected them to play well. I think we were enthusiastic about taking down 3D Max. We were not expecting that good of a performance against Team Liquid. We were so happy. And Nerds was not playing badly either.
Yeah, Nerds was playing really well. And we're actually going to switch that topic, okay? That topic.
Okay.
Let's head into the podcast because we've only got you for a bit longer. We're going to talk about the Blast Bounty, and obviously Heroic's performance was, I gotta say, a beautiful underdog performance, to be honest, because I didn't rate Heroic at all. I thought Heroic were not even going to make the LAN, because I was just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, as you said before, first team with a sub, and I'm like, yeah, Heroic are going to get, killed by either 3D Max because they won't get over the hump against them. But no, you guys beat 3D Max, and then you did one better and beat Liquid, and I was just like, what? How?
Yeah, we beat 3D Max with Sunpius dropping single-digit kills in match 1, and something else. So it goes to prove that we are a well-rounded squad. Even if our star, well, okay, again, I'm talking about 3 best of 3s here, but if a star player does go missing, a little bit like the Alt Heroic, the rest of the team has the capacity to step up, frag out, put up the numbers needed to get us over the finish line. And I was super happy watching that 3D Mates game. There was so much to smile about because yes, it is still a former core still playing together, which was super, super nice. But like it's still overall a new team. It's Tenia, the unknown entity coming from Gun 5 and a tiny stint on Forza.
And you got Sun Pius as well, who's like been on the bench forever. You had no idea how he's going to perform out of the gates because you know he's got that ring rust. I know a lot of people have talked about it. Like he hasn't played an official for like 3 months, or no, even longer actually.
I think it was four months he's been on the Falcons bench for, is what I think it is.
Yeah.
And despite being their best player, which I thought was a bit of a bold move, and then they brought in Washed Simple for $500,000 a month.
Yeah, that
he was there for 2 months.
I don't even understand that, but I guess overall, how does it feel? Because I got to say, for Rogue, this must have been a big win for them, finishing above both their previous scores and getting to a LAN event where their previous scores did not finish that well.
Yeah, no, we finished above every single one of our players who left at the end of last year. We beat Liquid, we beat Falcons, we beat Astralis. It's always nice to beat Astralis. It was a huge win for us to beat our old core, who are now playing with Nico and Magisk.
Yep.
Like, those are some big, big names. And yeah, we beat Twists and NAF and Nerds. Like, again, we were beating huge names as relative unknowns, not unknowns, but relative unknowns to the scene, with the exception of probably Sun Pius, number 6 in 2023. Yeah, just what some people might not remember is in the most recent Pro League, Sangel actually beat Heroic in a best of 3 after coming back from, was it 11-2 down? They won in regulation 13-11 or something.
Yeah, they did something unbelievable.
Ridiculous. And yeah, we did beat them in the second best of 3, but it was close, and they actually beat FaZe as well in that same Pro League. So this is not a core that is inexperienced in the tier 1 landscape. They were just far more consistently playing in tier 2, and they did have their peaks and troughs. I think they won like 3 CCTs in the middle to the end of last year, and then they just couldn't hold it together for the major. But now with Saw behind them, everyone loves Saw.
They had a crazy win streak as well. I think it was like 13 or 14 at some stage. And I casted the only series that they lost, okay? After that, I casted the streak that they lost, okay? That SunGold roster lost. I'm like, really? And, you know, it's the second time this this tournament that an Australian team has been disappointed by that SunGold core. First it's ESL Pro League, you know, them knocking out FlyQuest, and now it's them knocking out JKS and Team Liquid, ruining everything for Australia to SunGold core.
Sorry, boys. That's I'm very sorry. Australia needs some big wins, man. I am seriously rooting for Australia to get just back to Renegades days. Renegades days was the golden era.
We did beat MIBR. The last scriptwriter was very kind for us to beat a Brazilian team. Before this, FlyQuest were 1-13 against Brazilian opponents.
Yikes! That's harsh.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like the last time that core beat a Brazilian team was on Renegades?
Yep, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, we're talking a good few years ago. So beating MIBR, huge congrats to the boys, because Insani, as he says in his name, he is a insane beast of a player.
I've interviewed him as well, and I basically said to him, it was DSL Challenger Melbourne before they won the event, and they got into the playoffs the next day. He was like, we're not going to drop a single map. It's going to be 2-0, 2-0. We're going to win. Now, they dropped the map to Apex because Marcus can verify this, okay? And then I said to him, oh, you 13-0'd Apex on the third map. That doesn't count. But let's talk about this. Yep, sorry.
Sorry, I was saying, like, some of the results that MIBR put up are just so ridiculous, they don't seem real. And then on the flip side, they just don't show up.
Yep.
It's such a duality of MIBR, but I'm excited to see how Pain played today as well. But sorry, continue.
looking at the other teams, I mean, I say the Navi Imperial female match also set records, and I gotta say it's the first female team to participate in a big tournament. Now, next up for them is I'm Katowice, and I've got to say overall, there's been a lot of rage baiting about this. You know, obviously, Anna did not have a great performance for Imperial, and I saw that was under the microscope. I thought it was a bit unfair because you are versing like Bit, who was just having a field day, basically, and it's just an Orpa's nightmare when a rifler just swings on you, just one taps you before you even have a chance. But I felt they played reasonably well. Like, previously, from what I was expecting, you know, you had the good old Renegades versus FlyQuest Red, where Renegades 16-0'd them. And now you have, you know, Imperial. They were matching it neck and neck for a bit on Mirage. 13-7, 13-8. That's competitive at least. That's obviously not in the realm of winning a map, but it's very competitive.
And they did better than Astralis did the day after against Navi. So huge props to them for that. I am a huge fan of this Imperial female lineup. I'm super glad that they have organizational backing still. And it's awesome to see that Zaz is still in the game after such a long time. Like, did Zaz play it like a major back in 2013 or something with Giuliano and stuff?
I'm trying to think about that.
I seem to remember that.
There was something about the last Tier 1 tournament was with Zaz and Giuliano or something like that. Like, Zaz was part of it.
Something Monkey Gaming, I think. Like BMG was the team. But so I have been watching CS long enough to remember the female invite slot to one of the DreamHacks where Xset female played against Virtus Pro, and they still took 6 rounds off them, and people were like, haha, you know, they've lost easily. But some of the rounds had some really good principles. They lost there very much on the aim rather than the strategy. But looking now, Imperial female outcalling Alexi B in multiple rounds on Ancient in what was such a fun and exciting game to watch. Zaz almost getting that 1v4 clutches from Cat. 23 had a great game. Honestly, everyone except Anna had fantastic moments throughout that entire series. I think it's unfair to call out Anna for that, though, because this is her first. Like, all of the pressure was on Anna.
I don't think it was like the first thing. It's just she didn't have a good day in the office. It's like one of those games where you're just like, shit, nothing's working for me. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Also, Thorin.
Yeah, I know. I responded to that. And then I had a lot of his followers being, he's just pointing out a fact. I'm like, bro, like, this is the most bad faith fucking analysis there is. Like, it's a sample size of 1. And then someone's like, someone's like, you're making that interpretation for it. And I'm like, I blocked him after this. I'm like, it's juxtaposition, bro. Like, do you not get it in your thick head what he's trying to apply?
Yeah, I mean, also, like, the #1 player of all time, Simple, also ass in his returning game against Metisport. So it's like, you know, just calm down. Calm down.
Anyways, I do understand his point about, you know, obviously Imperial getting its VRS points from the female scene. I understand that. That is a temporary blip because, like, what are you meant to do for, like, a start of a system when there was a previous system in place? Like, nothing you do to transition it to the new system is going to be fair at all. There is going to be some unfairness regardless, okay? But it will even itself out within 6 or a year or so. Like, for example, Imperial female, if they don't win any games in the VRS system, it's just going to erode and then they're not going to get their invite anymore. Like, that's what's probably going to happen. That there's a reality where that happens,
There's just not enough women's events either for them to, like, so if they don't win in the Tier 1 male circuit, then they will just drop down. And they won't get boosted back up again because there's, 3 Impact events a year? They removed all of the cash cups, which would have been a huge opportunity to get some extra funding, extra points. And it's just like there's some trade it online events.
And also, are they all VRS points available? Like, you know, those impact leagues, because they could be just yoinking them because they're not allowing everyone to be invited. Like, that could be that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, I think Impact has VRS. I would have to check that, and they have enough prize money that it does give them more VRS points. But again, if no one can beat Imperial female, then it's only going to be them anyway. And they have already proved that against, you know, #1, #2 team in the world in Na'Vi that hey, we have some flair. We can bite back. And they did. And if they had not lost against the 2 Na'Vi full pistol rounds on both halves of the first map and in the second map, I confidently believe they would have hit double digits because they had some really solid fundamentals and they were really fun to watch. Was it Cat, I believe, with the Inspect Deagle, like
The one tap,
onto bit midair?
yeah.
Inspect Deagle one tap onto Wonderful, holding the angle with an AWP. That was crisp, clean. I screamed in my apartment. It was amazing to watch.
I remember tweeting like, Cat is the safest pair of hands on that Imperial female team. And I'm like, I am so vindicated so badly for saying that. There's an infamous clip, okay, because Cat posted a clip of a hacker wall banging, like with an AWP, holding from market, wall banging and taking her out with a headshot in kitchen. And I basically responded to Cat. I'm like, yeah, you got to practice that. I want to see that on an official, okay? I want to see you do that, okay?
The crispiest thing I have ever seen. Well, okay, it was delicious. I was very, very happy watching that game. And Na'Vi, I respect the fact that they didn't do, as Maui said, go full disrespect style, throw their strats out the window and just go for like the ego plays. Because I'm really happy we got to see a thought out game. Alexi be getting out called and everything. Like that was such a good game to watch, especially because both teams were sticking to their normal styles. So we got a proper view of what was on offer there.
I gotta say, even if you do this disrespect style as well, like if the other team has like good fundamentals and whatnot, because MIBR did this to KCG at ESL Challenger Melbourne, where they went on a 4-spot in the second round CT side. And I'm like saying to, I think I talked to Ningovi, he was the RGL at KCG at the stage, I'm like, bro, the happiest thing I am is that when they went full arrogant and forced up against you on the second round when they really shouldn't have, you punished it and they started respecting you. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, even though MIBR ran over KCG in the end, they were putting out actual strats. And I feel like if Na'Vi tried to do that against Imperial, they would have actually lost the map. I reckon they would have lost the map due to the ego stuff. Because Imperial's fundamentals were pretty decent. And you mentioned as well, you talked about Tori as well. Tori is actually a very, very good IGL and a very, very good fragging IGL as well. And a photo bomber in all the Instagram stories, okay? That's when I used to talk to Vilga, or I still actually talk to Vilga quite a lot of her stories was like Tori in the background being a blur, photo bombing the story. Every time.
Hey. She's bombing photos, but she's not bombing out on the server, and that's what's most important, Josh. Yep. She's putting up great numbers all the time, and again, like, it's so good to see that their reign of dominance has lasted. Are we coming into year 3 now?
Yeah, they've played incredibly well. Like, that team, there hasn't really been many changes other than Vilga going out and obviously Zaz being brought in. That was the main change. I felt that was a tough gamble during that stage, but it's paid off with Tori being the IGL. Another team I want to go to during this as well is Mouse. Okay, we could talk about Mouse and Rostermania later with the Shui bomb out, or obviously leaving the team. But losing to BetBoom, is that more of a Boomich is good vibe with IC and Exile, or is this like Mouse? What's going on?
No, I think we have to give credits to both parties for that result. I think huge well done to Boomich. He seems to have found a couple of players in a system he's more comfortable in. He's had the pressure lifted off of him. He's no longer playing for Cloud9, the historied organization.
Sorry, right? Not IC. Zorte as the AWP. I completely messed that up.
No, that's okay. And like he's got young pieces of the puzzle around him. If you think back to Na'Vi, Bit and Perfecto, very young players needed to be molded, and they were under Boomich's tutelage. Like people seem to forget that Na'Vi, had the war not happened, would have almost certainly stuck together and would have been a continual world-beating team. And yes, Boomich made his own mistakes, and he was deservedly removed from the scene for a little while whilst he recovered from all of that. But it's great to see that he has come back a better person. He looks fantastic as well. He's been clearly working on himself.
I call him Super Boo.
And I think,
I call him Super Boo because
Super Boo.
he looks like Margin Boo at the start, and then Super Boo because he's like super fit and like super muscly, mate. What do you reckon?
No, again, like shout out to anyone who can commit to that level of transformation, and I, I I can sort of see where you're coming from, and I
Yeah.
think it's a silly way of putting it. It's very funny,
Yep.
and again, like shout out to Boombala, you know.
Yep. And also, I was going to say as well with Betboom, like, you know, they lost to Nafani, they lost another player as well. I forget the second player. I think the big thing here for this team is that Magno Jez is not carrying the entire weight of the world on his shoulders. They've got Axel now as a backup rifler, as a clutcher as well.
So he came from Spirit Academy as well, right? Not originally, but Magni has played for Spirit Academy.
I'm not sure with Boomich, actually. I'm not sure where he's from. I know Axel's obviously from Gambit. Magno Jez has been on a lot of different Russian teams. Zorte is obviously from Force. Siren is from Spirit Academy, so that could be one of them.
No, so Magnias was Spirit Academy from June 23 to March 24. So their pipeline of finding CIS talent is ridiculous. He was on Webster's, which is actually the same team that Tina was on. I don't think they played at the same time, but it's the same team. And then he had a quick stint in K23, which didn't last very long. But Spirit Academy is where his name really got out there. And he's only 20 years old. He's a great player. I think he's going to be one to look out for on that Bet Boom lineup. Definitely.
Yep. Because I heard Magno Jez is a great player. It's just in that original Bet Boom lineup with Nafani, he just had too much pressure on him as being the top rifler because there was no one around him that was doing anything. Zorte was having a big slump. Zorte is a great clutcher at times as well. They brought Axar in, and I think this is elevated with Boomich coming in as well to a lineup that can upset some big teams, and BetBoom could, or as they are called on other, circuits, BB team, will start upsetting and make some big results happen, I reckon, as well, because they've got a good rifling in there as well. Magno Jez, I did remember him casting at Webster's. That's why I thought it was a great pickup initially for BetBoom, because he's a good player. He was one of the top players for Webster's.
Yeah.
What else? What other games do I have here?
No, I can very quickly draw a comparison as well. You were talking about how there was too much pressure on him under Nafani.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the recent interview that Ash did with HLTV saying Flamus was relied on too heavily on the Gamer Legion lineup because he was like the big playmaker, the big star. But now that there is a Gamer Legion lineup where you've got Rez with the experience and a couple of other players with the expectations that their game can be elevated, like I think in the same way that Gamer Legion will continue to look good with their crazy shuffles, I think BetBoom will be even better because they have the benefit of having stability. They've got the money. They can keep this lineup together. And again, Boomich, great at growing younger players and snappy younger players in people like Magnias and an Axile performing well.
Yeah.
This is a dangerous team. Mao's on the flip side. I think upon reflection, we can see why they were struggling. Sui had a falling out, chose to bench himself, got benched, whatever happened there, and then they brought in Spinks. Like, clearly they were unhappy, and Sui, who knows, maybe he wanted to go to Falcons with Yimpat or something. We don't quite know what was happening there, but then Yimpat said no, and none of them were texting him outside of prac, so it's not a fun working environment.
I'm not sure how true that is, but we'll see what happens. Like, I know that was rumored. I think that was from KRL, I believe. I'm not to be too sure. There could be an interview out there. I'm not to be too sure. I haven't verified that yet, but we'll see what happens or what.
The tweet got deleted, but he was on a stream talking to a Polish streamer.
Okay. Yeah.
From what I have seen, who's the guy with the octopus logo on Twitter who's from the Polish scene?
I'm not to be too sure, but if that's verified, it's verified. He's talking on someone's stream. That's close enough. I'll say with BetBoom as well. Also taking out Furia, and I'm happy for that because I want that Furia team. Like that Furia team, I still do not understand like why Fallen is still playing as an AWPer on that team. Okay, I reckon he should have moved to a coach role in particular and start breeding some young AWPers into that Furia lineup. Fallen has games that he does extremely well, but he also has games where he's absolutely non-existent and completely outplayed.
Yeah, I mean, Fallen is a fantastic player, deserves all the respect that he has, but I don't think Furia will improve until I think coaching role would be a fantastic fit for Fallen, and you just bring in someone young and snappy. There's so many of those talents in the South American scene who deserve that shot. But then again, would Furia even continue to succeed? Because Fallen is like the glue for the youngsters on that team.
Yeah.
They've turned down other contracts just to play with Fallen. And it's like, damn, this guy has some pull and he has a legacy, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I don't know what Furia would look like without Fallen now. I really don't.
Talking about the other Brazilian team, Pain. Well, they definitely showed the Pain onto FaZe, a 2-0 win. And I gotta say, Big Zero once again doing it with completely unknown players.
Big Zara, my goat. Like I love this guy. I love Pain. I love Snowjin. I was casting him in the We Play Academy League when he played for Young Gods. He was 14 or 15 years old. I even met him by accident in Sweden because Godsent brought them out to the Pinnacle Cup land to watch from the audience. And he spoke not a word of English, but he was so sweet. I got a little high five from him. Again, he's tiny. He was like 14 and up to my rib cage. And like I just so much respect for him, for the journey he's been on getting to this Pain lineup now. And it's a fun team to watch. Beating FaZe is no easy feat, and I can't wait to see how they progress. And I do think they're taking a map off Na'Vi.
I also gotta say, the other one is Spirit. Like, how dominant they have been so far in the Blast Bounty. They have just railed every single team they have come against, basically. Like, I think the closest result was the Heroic Spirit game. The first map was just closest map they've had the entire tournament. They have completely banged out every single other team. BlackWest only scored 4 rounds against them. Like, is Spirit going to be that next team after winning the major that nobody's just going to beat them? Like, they're going to be the unstoppable juggernaut?
I mean, Zontix looks so much more reliable than he was as well. Magic's putting up ridiculous numbers. Shiro on the rifle and the AWP. It's just a pain in the ass to play against. Donk is Donk. And Chopper, if Chopper could have calmed down just a little bit on that Anubis game, we win absolutely. But Chopper and Shiro going absolutely fucking sensational, keeping their team alive in some of those rounds, man. They look like a super team. They have their jittery moments. Again, that first half of Anubis, very much one of them, but we are a team that's hard to anti-strat because we have no strats yet. We're brand new. But like...
Is that the actual anti-strat? Don't have strats?
Yeah, just don't have strats. Just send Youngster to run in, die early, and then trade him. That's the strat.
Yep.
Some players go kill. That's another one of my favorite strats. Some players go clutch. Another one of my favorite strats. But yeah, just like looking at this Spirit team, they are so scary, and they're the only team at Blast Bounty who has said we want to risk all of our banked money against every single opponent, and everyone has turned them down because they're like, well, damn, these guys, they're just too good.
Then you got another side talking about star players and whatnot. G2, like, they struggled to get to the LAN tournament, like a lot of 2-1s. They finally beat a team 2-0, which was the BetBoom team we talked about earlier. What do you think?
However,
I gotta say overall, like, G2 for me has always been on there, and also not to mention BetBoom didn't have Boomich, had Nafani and Chiron in the roster, which was their bench players, so good luck.
yes.
But what do you like? G2's been one of these teams for me. It's just the IGL has to herd a few cattle, which is your really good players, to go kill, because they've got the Heavy God, Monacy, Malbs on that roster now, which will just absolutely, overwhelm teams and whatnot. I don't understand. Is Snacks the right IGL for the team? Would Hooksy be better in managing these lovely cattle into winning games for G2? Because G2's strategy is not. It's not like you got a Blade mastermind or set piece behind it. It is these 3 players are really fucking good, and they are going to absolutely beam you, and that's it. That seems to be like the big strat.
I think Hooksy was a lot more sacrificial than Snacks is, which really benefited the star players like Monacy, like Nico. Like you saw rounds, especially early on in G2, where Snacks would buy the hero AK despite having like 2 kills in the 15th round of play. Snacks, I sometimes feel like he's still in the classic CS:GO mindset when he's making some of his more modern calls. Like uh, I don't think his strategic depth is anywhere near the level of a Kicksun, of a Sui, of a Kerrigan. But I think he's a better IGL than people give him credit for, especially after seeing what he was able to accomplish with a very middling Gamer Legion lineup.
Yeah.
Like, but again, I don't know how well it translates to tier one against that better opposition. You feel like when G2 had Nico and Monacy and Malbs, they should have beaten every team in the world. And the fact that they weren't raises a lot of questions, red flags. I think Sui would probably be a better fit for the G2 IGL spot. I think there are other I think Kicksun would be a better fit. I think G2.
They don't have an issue anymore with like Nico, given that Nico had issues with Carrigan and Alex EV and anything like that. So G2 have a lot more range to really go for in the IGLs now, since they don't have that potential personality clash either. But yeah, I guess those are probably a lot of the teams I really wanted to look out for that tournament, because obviously G2 struggled. No surprises for Falcons in particular that they didn't make it. And this has been the story of Falcons forever, is that they could perennially underperform even with really, really good players and a good coach behind them. I think you got to give this Falcons roster a bit of time. Like, I reckon this roster is actually good this time. It isn't a mishmash of players. And I've criticized the Vulcans player scouting and player managing before as well. Like, guys, you guys are not even doing your scouting, mate. Like, you're trying to build a team of stars, not a star team. And you are going to get burned for it over and over again because you're not G2.
Call me crazy. Bench Zonic. Bench Zonic, switch out Magisk if he still wants to be as prominent of a voice in the team as he's tried to be. Because you can't have the anchor player being like the second IGL when Snappy was clearly... Snappy looked depressed in that team. And from what I've heard from Richard Lewis, other sources, like Snappy was getting overruled on some decision making. He wasn't the prominent voice in the server at times. And to quote Richard Lewis, Zonic, if you want Magisk to be the IGL, make him the IGL. And then I feel like that would solve a lot of a team's problems, or alternatively, get rid of the pair of them. And honestly, you know how you can fix any lineup? Saw. That's one of the Falcons' biggest mistakes. They took our roster, but they didn't take Saw with them. And Zonic is great when he's got his Danish pieces of the puzzle, but international lineups, big personalities, he doesn't seem as well equipped to handle it. And I think last year certainly proved it.
So you're telling them to pick up a ex-Harvu player to be a coach. There's Zori still out there. There's Slowy. There's I can name all the ex-Harvu players if you want. There's also, oh man, I forget his name. He's the one that did Ninja Diffuse on Nuke. But there's a lot of them out there. You can pick them all up. Get the ex, Harvu players. Just go Harvu Liquipedia. Hey, you want to come in? Is that the big secret?
Given the original lineup that Falcons bought, that's not even too outlandish. What was it? It was Masuta, Kenny S, Body,
MHL,
NBK, and MHL.
Yep.
No, this was Kenny S was before MHL, and then there was one other player.
Okay.
So they bought washed Kenny S. They benched him and then paid him $50K a month to stream for a little while, I think is what it was. And then they benched NBK, bins him off, and then it was a nightmare. It was an awful roster. No, it wasn't even an awful roster. It was just a tier 2 roster, and they did win some matches, and they won a hell of a lot more than the Snappy, Sumpires, Magisk, Dupree roster. And Nico looks upset, man. Like Nico in his first couple games, staring at the wall, thinking, "Do I punch a hole through this or not?"
Oh, he's looking for Monacy, mate. That's what someone said. He's looking for Monacy, the fist bump. He's like, yep. It's not gonna happen anymore. What are your thoughts on the rest of the Blast Bounty finals? Like, I'm thinking Spirit's just gonna win the entire thing. Vitality are just gonna be a bump in the road, and that's it. None of the other teams are gonna get close. It's just gonna be that scary donk walk, and he's being like, "You're approaching me," and he's just gonna rail, everyone basically.
I think Vitality need a little bit more time to fully adjust to ROPS.
Yeah.
I think Spirit are the favorites by far. I think Na'Vi could still beat Spirit. I don't think G2 are currently in a comfortable enough position with Heavy God. I mean, maybe that Bet Boon game gives them confidence,
Yep.
but I would say G2, as crazy as it sounds, G2 the dark horse to win, Spirit the favorites, Na'Vi the potential upset, and I think Vitality just in this ranking
Yep.
is I don't think they've quite got the flair that they need yet. But then again, Pain might beat Na'Vi, and then Pain might win the tournament as well. Pain are the ultra dark horse.
Yeah.
Pain are like the maybe I wouldn't rule them out entirely.
The
But I'd
1
give
to
them
the
like a
1 million
3%.
chance they might win.
Yeah, Pain would be crazy if
Yeah,
they
because they'll beat
won.
Na'Vi, they'll beat G2 potentially. I'm not sure if they're versing G2 next stage. And they would have to beat Spirit most likely or Vitality, and that's going to be insanity if they do.
Yeah, they'd have to beat 2 out of 4 of the best teams
Yep.
in the world immediately. Yeah, good luck to Pain. I hope they do well. Excuse me 1 second.
All good?
Yeah. In the words of the original Suicide Squad anthem, I'm just a sucker for pain.
Definitely. Next up, we're going to talk about Rostermania, because Rostermania, there was a joke, I'll just give you the biggest Rostermania yet, and everyone's just like, yeah, everyone says that, and it turns out, it's like, a couple of people moving everywhere. But no, this turned out to be a real big hot Rostermania, and Heroic lost their roster again.
Yes, we have turned it into an annual tradition of getting rid of at least our core 3 players, if not the entire lineup, because we just love putting new rosters together. That's why we got Saw, we got him in the wings. But the original plan was not to lose our entire roster. The original plan was looking at maybe making a single change for an improvement, but then everything went sirens blaring. Oh wow, Falcons need a top 8 roster to get all the invites. Nerds has got an offer from Liquid. Sirens blaring. And yeah, we end up buying the core of Sangel in what was a reasonably last minute deal. They're a good enough core that we could improve them and get to that top 16. They're a high level tier 2 squad. We could bring in Sunpius as well. Wanted to join Heroic for a while.
Yep.
And we could also, well, okay, we had Nilo to start off with, one of the rising prodigies, 5 players in the 2023 top 20 voted him as their star of the future or whatever. Like he was a big signing, and then again, very unfortunate. Some circumstances popped up outside of both of our control, and then we got Tina, who ended up being a great choice anyway. Gels really well with the squad. Does need a couple of English lessons to get himself up to a bit more of a native fluency, but he's got the basics right now. He's got the call outs, and he's still a vocal player in the team, calling for his flashes. Really fun player to watch.
What was like probably the biggest like shock announcement in particular? For me, for Rostermania, was definitely Rops being signed with Vitality. Definitely did not see coming out. And also the late one was Shui being benched from Mouse, because I was hoping they would stick together. Those are the two ones that shocked me the most. Like Rops in particular, going Vitality. Like I was like sitting there like, I know Spinks is moving, but I didn't expect FaZe to break up for it.
I knew that Rops' contract was coming to an end. I knew that Rops wanted some change, whether it be in the team or outside of it. I think I might have got, excuse me, a little bit early insider info that Rops was being scouted by Vitality, because first of all, Vitality are one of the few teams who could afford to pay his monthly salary, and also a roster that he would want to fit into, right? Like you've got Zywoo, which is crazy. You've got Apex, proven IGL, obviously not Karrigan, but still someone who would give Rops the freedom to do his sort of playstyle. Flames is a great player as well. You're stepping into a great roster. I think my biggest surprise was Sui just going, nah, fuck it, I'm out. And Mal's benching Sui. That was my biggest surprise. And I know that the Spinks deal was very last minute. Spinks turned down a lot of offers because he wanted to get like big salary, big opportunity, big team, and fair play, paid off very, very well. Like he's there, he's on Mouse now. And I think that's going to be a dangerous team, but I don't know how Brolin's IGLing will compare to Sui. They've got the firepower upgrade,
Yep.
but do they have the
This is Ents.
IGLing capacity?
This is Ents
Yeah.
all over again. This is literally the Sunny transfer all over again, okay? I guess Mark Twain was always right. You know, history's never the same, but it often rhymes. But
An excellent quote to use in this instance, yeah.
Yep. So
And then that means Sui goes on to win a major, right? In 4 years' time,
yeah,
surely.
probably. Now the Cloud9 one was a bit of a surprise as well because that roster felt like it was building up. They got picked for parts, which is very rare for an organization like Cloud9. You know, Heavy God moving over to G2, then they lose IC to VP. I can say the most expected change for me was VP picking up Flamus. Like, the moment Flamus was performing, and like there was rumors that Jay was going to get benched, I'm like, yeah, Flamus is going to get picked up. Like, there's no way. Like, that's just like, that's your default pick him up. Like, throw out one of your players, i.e. the anchor.
Flamus is a great pick.
Yep. Like, not...
Sorry, I blame the latency.
like not only is he like a great pickup like on the server, but out of the server as well, because that kid just loves fucking playing CS2. Like, you can just tell he just loves everything. Like, man is just built for crowd interaction. He's gonna be like Carrigan when he's older, where he's just gonna be controlling the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was really fun to watch. He clearly bagged themselves a couple of fans from the performance in China. And also, shout out to the Chinese major for having every stage with an audience, and shout out to the Chinese audience for actually showing up to every game, unlike Brazil.
You talk about the library, mate. Don't talk about the library like that, okay?
It just reminds me of the scariest ever Doctor Who episode, Silence in the Library.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, I would also be scared if I was a non-Brazilian player on that stage playing against the Brazilians.
So... there's another one as well. Was Jam Young was actually fancying a return to Valorant, and that added with Starry, I believe, being purchased back by Lid Vision. And Tyler's roster was a bit of a shambles until they were like, "Oh yeah, Jam Young wants to play CS2 again." And Tyler's in a weird position at the moment because they've still got that Rare Adam roster they previously purchased. They've got G in the roster. They were tried to make a play for another player, but I don't know who, because they wanted to replace G. But obviously the only player on market, I forget his name now. Oh man, he plays for Lid Vision. He's like their crazy AWPer. Why do I forget his name? Why do I forget his name? Someone's gonna be... No. Oh, I got his name on the tip of my tongue. Oh, Zaka, that's right. I know it starts with Z. Zaka is their best player by far. He's like an incredible AWPer. And I'm surprised that Tyler didn't go after him, to be honest. But yeah, like with Rostermania overall, I think the big stories was just Nico. Obviously, Nico leaving was expected. But it was just like when the Rops domino fell, it was just a feeding frenzy, basically. And Vulcan's picking up Heroic, of course. It just turned into an absolute feeding frenzy where everyone could go anywhere at any moment.
Yeah, we were not Falcon's first choice. I can tell you that much for free, and I think that probably helped with the payment that we received. You know, it went pretty well. It meant we were able to pick up a new roster of our own, super last minute, and I hope that we are able to continue expanding on this roster. Like, I'm excited to see where we go with this project. I'm more excited for this project than I was initially for our last project, because the last one is like, oh, it's an end of an era. It's like, oh god, like the future is so uncertain. But now, like, I think the org is in a good place. We have a good team. Sora is the GOAT coach. Yeah, we have all the pieces, and sorry, just again, we have the Dota 2 roster, we have the Valorant Game Changers roster, we have one of the best Fortnite players in the world. We're organizationally in a great spot, and I hope we maybe expand into some more titles. That's not a leak. I don't know. Like,
I know what I'm saying is that you guys are in a better position where it's not relying on that CS2 team. It is now.
Yeah.
We've got such a bigger portfolio now as well, where these roster manias where we lose our team isn't so much of an impact compared to what it was previously.
Yeah, and we're making a name for ourselves in the Dota 2 scene now. We won South America's first ever Tier 1 LAN.
Yep.
In Dota 2, and Dota 2's been out since what, 2011 or whatever, 2012. And like that's huge achievement for the organization. We got our first trophy in 490 days thanks to our Dota 2 team, so shout out to them.
Yep.
And hopefully we can add a trophy, a very elusive Counter-Strike trophy to our cabinet this year after a tough loss to Ents and a tough loss to the Mongols in back-to-back best-of-5 finals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as you get into the grand finals, it's good. But also, it's 3 grand finals you've lost because you also lost to VP in the grand finals of a major. I know it's not BO5, but you guys seem to be the bridesmaids, don't you? Okay. Talking about our last topic, because we've only got you for 5 more minutes.
That's all right.
Extremesland, okay?
Crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going to put it, crazy. I predicted that no one from Group B will win a playoff match. The top team from Group B wins the entire event, which is EXO, okay? EXO beat Red Atom. They beat Atox. They beat the second best team in Mongolia. They beat possibly the best team in China. They beat the third best Mongolian team. They also beat the top China team that qualified, which was obviously Cat Evil, now Faded Rise, 13-3 in the BO1. Like,
it makes no sense, man. It really does make no sense.
And not to mention as well, Atox beat the arguably best Chinese team, being Tyloo at the event. And EXO did not only dropped the map to Chinggis. Okay, that's the third best Mongolian team.
Yeah,
like
it's wild.
Like, do you think these guys are going to start making a big statement? Like, they're going to get a lot of VRS points, like, in the future, and start potentially building up to tier 2? Like, how far can this team go?
Like the problem is, then they're not going to get invited to tier 2 events. They're not going to get invited to even tier 3 events because they're so far off of people's radars. Like, again, I knew who EXO were purely because of Extremesland.
Yeah.
I knew one of their players because Senpai is a funny name, and I had them on a list of funny players to look out for with like Blackpink and Rip Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
Paul Bandana is the only player I knew from his previous teams, previous experience, previous caliber, and he had a ridiculous tournament.
Yeah,
like, he went crazy, wild.
Yeah, because basically the Saudi Arabian cast I was talking to was just like, watch out for Osamas and Oscar. They're incredibly great players. And then I was like seeing this Paul Bandana guy pop off. I'm like, holy crap, they've actually got fucking such a good core. Like, and also not to mention as well for Red Atom, like Red Atom, Kaze was invisible at this event. Like, Kaze played very poorly, and Kaze is the main catalyst for that Red Atom roster. If Kaze is not there, good luck. Like, Kaze was just not there. No one really stood up for Red Atom. Like, somebody, child, can you expect them to stand up? They weren't there, and yeah, EXO just completely just ran over them, and everyone was just shocked that they did. And like the favorites I was having for this tournament being Red Atom and Jijahal, none of them made it to the grand finals. It was Atox, obviously the biggest dark horse in Mongolia, and EXO, and it was such a crazy tournament to just watch and be like, what the hell's going on? What's this EXO team's just amazing.
Yeah, I was really hoping for more from Semperfi as well. Again, not just because I'm pandering to you, my Australian friend, but I think on a good day they could have made the semis there. I think they should have made the semis, maybe.
I'm just happy they made playoffs, to be honest, because I gotta say, like, you're looking at their group, they've got IHC, Tyloo. They were very resilient. Like, I gotta give Semperfi a lot of credit. They were very resilient against IHC, given how bad the OT, not how bad the OT was, but the OT was good against IHC. How stressful that OT was, because they were down 2 match points. They were 12-10 on Mirage, and they were in a 4-spy, and they came back and tied it up at 12-12. And how much they held their nerve to win that OT Mirage, which just led to the absolute drubbing, because they got, I think it was they had a really bad CT side on Nuke. And I'm like sitting there going like, oh, Semperfi, like 7 rounds of CT sides and not enough on Nuke. But like, they just started off so brilliantly on a T side and just ended it. But that Mirage is probably one of their finest moments and finest hours on winning that OT, because they could have easily lost 2-0.
No, but again, it's great to see them making it to the playoffs. And also,
Yeah.
shout out to Vietnamese CS. We had
Yeah.
Blaze Warriors taking down a Chinese team. I don't
Yeah.
think I remember the last time I've seen a 5-man Vietnamese roster play Counter Strike in, I guess, tier 2 level, tier
Yeah.
1 if you're talking Rare Atom and Tyloo, but a different group. But yeah, I was very, very surprised at Rare Atom. Not only did they not win the event, but they lost 2-0 to EXO, the unknown entity.
Yeah.
Because I think Rare Atom are a much better team than they showed. And not only did they lose, they lost 13-5, 13-4.
Yeah, they got completely
ridiculous.
stomped.
K's 0.55 rating, and yeah, it was not even close. Pole Bandana and Oscar.
Yeah, I basically said as well, I think it was Conky was talking about it. He was like, can Random come from back from this? I'm like, they've got to beat EXO 13-2 or 13-3. They've got to stop them back. Otherwise, they're never going to wrench back momentum because EXO believe they can stomp Atom now. And obviously, that's what happened. EXO kept stomping. I'm like, yeah, you've got to kill the confidence out of them very early on. Otherwise, they're going to still believe that they can get you.
I clearly have some demos that I need to watch here because I still, at face value, it is incomprehensible that EXO just bullied everyone in the tournament like this. They didn't lose a single series, did they? They were 2-0 in Group B, and then off they went, losing one map to Chinggis Warriors, as you said, like the third, fourth best team in Mongolia after IHC and Atox. It's wild.
Yeah, and also got to say as well for Faded Rise, that was a terrible tournament for them. They played absolutely bad CS, and I think overall, like, they played well below. Like, this team, like, that is a understatement of how badly they performed on LAN. Because they qualified number 1 seed from the China qualifier. They beat Tyloo and Rare Atom to qualify for Extremesland, and they deliver an absolute egg on stage, and they lose to Blaze, like a Vietnamese team where no one gives them any chance, not many people know them, and they lose in the BO3 to them. That's just, they go out last in their group as well.
Tough, man. Yeah,
and that group that they're in is easy. Like Tyloo, Rare Atom, Chinggis, IHC, Semper5, Jijahal, Atox, they would have loved being in that group. Initially, before EXO stomped everyone, they would have loved being in that group because it's an easy group for them.
But yeah, Josh, this has been actually very fun. I love waffling about Counter-Strike. It's why I made it my career in the first place. I was, caster for 3 years, 2 years. It was effectively full time, and like now that I'm working out here, Heroic in Norway, it is a bit of a dream come true. It's a very rare and valuable thing to be able to work in esports full time as a salaried professional. Like, that does not come around very often. So, but for everyone looking to make the leap, my advice to you: be very, very careful. Make sure you have a backup plan and take calculated risks. My calculated risk was I was offered a contract by CCT before making that full-time leap over, and I was going to give it a year as well. If I had not been offered that contract, I would not have been able to make the leap to put casting on the forefront as a full-time thing, because there's too much competition in tier 2. There's not enough tournaments in tier 2 coming into 2025, and as much as there's a lot of stuff going on in tier 1 this year, a lot of tournament organizers are already pulling out because they don't want to clash with the big boys, and the big boys already have their talent pool. So it will be difficult for newer casters to get into the scene. So be very careful and have that backup plan.
Yeah, like I say, you summed it up very nicely. But thanks for coming on, dude. I know you've got a Dota 2 team to watch, and hopefully they go well. And yeah, I actually echo his words as well, SneakyBeaky. Like, dude, like with full-time gigs and whatnot, you don't want to go full-time. No one goes into streaming, content creation, esports full-time, and they usually have a backup plan after that. Like, a lot of people in particular have told me that they've told people, get a university degree before you go into it, because you need something to go back on if it doesn't work out, because it's a rough industry where you're competing literally against everyone. Anyways, thanks for coming on, and I hope you have a lovely day, dude, and go heroic in Dota 2.
Thanks, man. Woo, let's go. Beat Falcons, please. That would be amazing. Excellent debut on the international stage for the new lineup. Sorry, I'm waffling, but go watch it.
Yep. Also, as well, you can follow SneakyBeaky. You can follow Heroic on their Twitter.com/Heroic. Also, you can follow SneakyBeaky. I think it's SneakyBeaky TTV as his Twitter handle as well. It'll be all in the description below. And yeah, highly recommend it. Okay? See you guys later, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.